Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Ilenia and this is Soft Skill Atelier, where I teach you all the skills you need to bring your fashion ideas to life, from concept to completion. On today's video, we want to start right at the beginning, and I'm going to give you the first part of a basic introduction series. In the first part, we'll be looking into a classical household sewing machine. Obviously, a sewing machine is crucial to your future projects, and if you can handle the machine, everything else is going to be much easier.
Here a quick overview of the things we're going to look at today. First, you need to know that sewing machines are all built the same. That doesn't mean that they have the exact same design and ways to be threaded, but you need to know that each machine has the same parts and functions built in so that they are actually able to create a seam. So if you have your machine in front of you, obviously the first thing you want to do is plug it in and set it up on a table and put the foot pedal on the floor. The foot pedal is responsible to control the sewing itself. As more as you press, as faster it gets. The hand wheel is the manual version of a foot pedal. It gives you the option to manually control the sewing sequence. Make sure that you always pull the hand wheel towards you and never away from you. The pressure foot is responsible for holding the fabric in place and press it together so that the stitches get neat and clean. At the same time, it is also pressing the fabric towards the feed dogs below the pressure foot. They move the fabric through the machine, a stitch length at a time. There's endless different pressure foots for all kinds of different tasks, like sewing zipper, buttonholes, edges, and so on. Each machine has a selection of different stitches you can use. The two basic stitches are straight and zigzag. You can adjust length and width individually. The designs of the stitch menu usually varies on each machine. But again, the basic functions are always the same, so don't get confused if your machine doesn't look exactly like mine.
To create a stitch, a machine uses two threads, one from above and one from below. The upper one called upper thread, the lower one is called bobbin thread. Ideally, these two would interlock with each other in between the two fabrics you want to sew together. There are a few things which could go wrong, so the interlocking wouldn't happen between the two fabrics but above or below. Most of the time it has something to do with the thread tension or some faulty threading.
For now, we want to get started spooling the bobbin thread onto the bobbin. To spool the bobbin, each machine has a constructed gadget solely for that purpose, called the bobbin winder. Take your thread of choice and place the thread onto the spool pin. Before you start spooling, you need to connect the thread from the spool to the bobbin. Make sure you wind the thread around that knob so that the thread is crossing itself before it goes to the bobbin. This is creating a bit of tension so that the thread gets spooled nice and tight onto the bobbin. Then, take your bobbin and push the end of the thread through one of the holes in your bobbin, from the inside out, and then push it onto the bobbin winder, which is that short clutch pin placed right next to the spool pin. You need to use a tiny bit of force to push that bobbin onto that pin. In case there's already some yarn on your bobbin, don't worry, just keep it on there. We don't want to waste any material. If you're all set and the thread is connected to your bobbin, you go and activate that bobbin winding mode. This usually is done by either pushing the bobbin towards the stopper or the stopper towards the bobbin. That solely depends on the design of your machine. And now it's time to use that pedal for the first time. Do slowly press that foot pedal to start the winding process. The spooling will stop by itself as soon as the bobbin is full. Make sure the tension on the thread is built up, otherwise the loose thread could spool up below the bobbin. For the next step, please make sure you turn off your machine and pull the hand wheel so that the needle and the thread take up. That moving arm that brings the thread towards the needle are both at the highest position. Now it's time to put the bobbin back into its case. If the bobbin is in its case, pull the end of the thread through the slit on the side of the case and then pull it underneath this platform-like element until you reach that hole on the side of the bobbin case. There's a right and wrong direction on how to pull the bobbin into the bobbin case. Hold the bobbin case with the opening facing towards you and pull the thread. The bobbin should be turning the opposite way of the direction you're pulling it. If it doesn't turn that way, you need to flip the bobbin and put it in the case again. This seems like a small detail, but it will have a huge impact on whether or not your machine can create a stitch. The bobbin case needs to be put into the machine underneath the needle. Make sure the case is put in properly and doesn't fall out. There is a little arm on the case which should be placed into that little gap on top of the case compartment. While putting the case into the bobbin compartment, hold the case on the clip in the back of the case. This gives you a better grip and blocks the bobbin from falling out.
To thread the upper thread, we need to remember that each machine does have the same parts to be even able to create a stitch. For us, the easiest way to internalize how to thread a machine is to remember the parts or the stations the thread needs to go through to be properly threaded. So please make sure that you don't miss any of the stations I'm going to talk you through right now.
So first of all, the upper thread is on its original yarn roll and will be placed on the pin on top of the machine. From there, you pull the thread towards the left side until you reach a construction of some sort that helps you to change the thread's direction, something like a hook or similar, so it will now run towards the front of the machine. The thread comes now to the front side of the machine and gets pulled through the tension wheel. That controls how much tension the upper thread has while sewing. You go around that nose-like hook that changes the direction a second time, and you go up again towards that moving hook, which is called thread take up. It is responsible to bring the right amount of thread towards the needle. Double check again that the take up is on its highest position when you thread it, otherwise it is hard to reach the hook. Before you thread the needle on your way down, there are two more hooks, one on the machine and one on the moving part on top of the needle. Make sure the thread goes through both of them. Now, last but not least, you need to thread the needle. Use some spit for the end of the thread so the small fibers stick together. That makes it easier to get the thread through. Place the end of the upper thread underneath the pressure foot. There's a slit in front or on the side of the foot where you can slide through the thread. To get started, you need to get that lower thread up through the machine on top of the feed dogs. For that, we hold the end of the upper thread with our left hand. With the right hand, we pull the hand wheel towards us, so the needle goes down into the table. You continue that pulling towards you until the needle comes back up, and when the needle is on its highest position, you pull on your upper thread. The upper thread has now pulled up the bobbin thread. Now take both threads and place them underneath the pressure foot towards the back of the machine. Now your machine is ready to sew.
Thanks for watching my video. I hope you could learn something from it. Watch out for number 2 of our basic sewing introduction series next week. I will be talking about some basic ground rules you need to know if you want to get started with sewing. I will also introduce you to 7 of the most common seams you can sew on a household sewing machine. So if you like this video, please let me know with a thumbs up, and make sure you don't miss any of the upcoming videos by subscribing to Soft Skill Atelier channel.